Welcome to the Be Wise podcast. I'm your host, Chris Wright. This is where we discuss entertainment, politics, sports, and social media. So, this episode, we're going to look at Lara Trump, her visit to the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God and Envy. And I love when politicians, particularly presidential candidates, visit the opposition's media. It's always interesting, and sometimes they're attacked. I thought that the Breakfast Club was pretty cordial, but they did get some digs in. And if you don't know, Lara Trump is not only the daughter-in-law of Donald Trump, but she is also the co-chair of the RNC, Republican National Convention. And kudos to her. Very brave to go on the show, sit amongst her adversaries, the opposition, and answer questions. And like I said, they weren't always kind. There was some subtle digs in there, but that's just how it goes. So Lara Trump went on the show. It was about a 45-minute episode, 45 to 50 minutes, maybe a little longer, but it was less than an hour. So it's something you can go and watch. But I just wanted to point out, 4 or 5 key talking points that everyone has jumped on with this election. You hear the same ones over and over again. And I like to see how Lara Trump is going to answer those things. So kudos to her. She did come on and basically punch back. And you gotta love that. So one of the first things that was brought up by Charlamagne the God and the Breakfast Club was J6. Of course, we're always going to be coming back to J6 or January 6th. For those of you who don't know, if it's not J6, it's always Russian collusion. So, pick your poison. So they talked about J6. Let's take a look and we'll talk about that right away.
He was friends with everybody. I mean, I think if you look back at Donald Trump's history, he last night we were at the Al Smith dinner and he was right there next to Chuck Schumer. And he said to Chuck Schumer, who's obviously a Democrat senator, he said, I gave Chuck his first check ever when he was running for like Assemblyman or something. So, yeah,
That's why Chuck was laughing so hard. Remember we asked why Chuck was laughing so hard? Chuck was laughing, boy.
I don't be liking the optics of that. Only reason I say I don't like the optics of that is because when you hear people like Chuck Schumer say things like Trump is a threat to democracy, but then you're sitting next to him yucking it up. Why would you be yucking it up with somebody who you consider a threat to democracy?
Well, you have to ask yourself that question, don't you?
He doesn't like that Chuck Schumer was yucking it up, but yet Kamala is always laughing and yucking it up with various people. I guess he doesn't like the optics I guess he's not realistic that on TV, on news shows, politicians, they butt heads. But in the Senate, in the House, when they're amongst themselves, no TV cameras, no media, it's just one big party. It's the American people, and then there's the politicians. And Charlamagne, he knows that, but
maybe it's all scare tactics. Maybe it's a lot of fear mongering. Charlamagne, what I can tell you is I know Donald Trump. I have known him for 16 years, and Chuck Schumer's known him a lot longer than I have. And I think he knows full well he's not a threat to democracy. And
one thing they have to remember is that Donald Trump was once a Democrat, and he gave Chuck Schumer a donation when he was running for Assemblyman years ago. So it's not like they're not friends. It's not like they don't know each other. It's not like they haven't run in the same circles. It is what it is.
You don't even have to take my word for it. Look at what he did when he was in the White House. Like, there was never any threat to democracy when he was in the White House.
There was an attempted coup of the country.
Well, that you can argue that a lot of different ways. Peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard is not an attempted coup. What was a coup was when they replaced Joe Biden with Kamala Harris, who was not elected by anyone to run for president. There are 14 million people who voted for Joe Biden to be the nominee for the Democrat Party. And if you want to talk about a real threat to democracy, I would argue that.
That wasn't a coup.
But Laura,
though.
did anyone die when that happened, though?
Well, no, not even that.
Well,
she was vice president. So
the only person who died was a woman who was there actually very supportive of Donald Trump on that day.
That's still a life loss. I'm just saying
it's terrible.
The comparison is a bit
We could go down the
drastic.
line of people dying in a lot of different circumstances, and I would argue that list could get very long for the Democrats as well. But
That was my main point when Kamala replaced Joe Biden. I said, basically, what they did to the Democrats is they picked your candidate for you. Okay. Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't think that was very democratic. That's not the way we do business in America. Can we think of another time other than a president dying that the vice president just stepped up, became president? And here's the thing. I'll take Gerald Ford, for example. When Nixon was impeached and resigned, Gerald Ford took over and he finished out the rest of Nixon's term. Okay. And then when the next election came, he ran again against Jimmy Carter. If a president resigns or if a president dies, that's a whole different story. But to one, say there was, because if you ask the Dems, if you ask the DNC, nothing was wrong with Joe Biden. He just decided that I'm not going to finish out this term or I'm not going to run. But I fully endorse Kamala. No. That's not how it should work. If you say I'm not going to run in the next election or in this current election, you let the people decide. Have a special primary or something, but don't just say here's our person. Here's our person. I totally disagree with that. I was against it, and I don't think that was something that should have happened. So yeah. All right, so let's go to the next one. She talks about Kamala replacing Joe Biden and see what the Breakfast Club had to say about that.
But she was vice president. She was on the ballot. People did vote for her. The delegates did vote for her at the DNC.
But would you, as I'm going to assume, a Democrat voter for a long time, unaffiliated voter,
Yes.
if you were a Democrat, maybe a Democrat here, would you guys, if you had the option to vote for someone other than Joe Biden to be the representative for you on the Democrat ticket, have chosen Kamala Harris to be that person?
Yes.
I would have chosen Kamala Harris.
Really? Interesting.
Here's what I'm wondering. Where was the support and all these people that say I would have selected her back when she first ran? When was it, 2019, whenever it was? Where were they then? I would have, Envy says I would have, and let's watch what, I forgot her name, but watch what the young lady says.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
Laura.
I mean,
Really?
I was a person that was calling for Joe Biden to step down for a very long time. And I think that there's, when Joe Biden made a statement last year, he said there's about 50 of us that could beat Donald Trump. I was like, well, line them all up then. And I definitely had her as one of the people.
Even though she dropped out whenever she ran the first time before her home state voted, before Iowa.
Bingo.
And she was polling solo, you still would have given her the shot. And I mean, if you think back too at Kamala Harris, when Joe Biden, before he got pushed out of this position, before he really kind of took it up a notch with this campaign.
Pushed out. You see what she said? Before he got pushed out of this position, no one objected to when she said that. Maybe they didn't catch it, but I caught it.
People were saying Kamala Harris is the insurance policy for Joe Biden because she really is not doing a great job as vice president. I mean, she got, her...
Well, I'm a person who voted. I voted for that ticket because of her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
A lot of people did. She got 1% on the polls of the Democratic vote when she was running for president. And now all of these people are coming out and saying, oh, no, I would have voted for her. You lie. Like, these are like blatant liars, in my opinion. There is no way that's true. So, and I love when Lara Trump said that was the real coup. Like, you basically, no one knows who's running the country right now until the election. We've seen more of Kamala Harris than we have Joe Biden. We haven't seen Joe Biden anywhere, not even at the Alfred Smith dinner or just nowhere. He hasn't been. They say, yeah, the candidates usually show up for that. It's a Catholic Charities thing that Trump went to. Kamala didn't show up to that. So where was all this support before? So you basically just let the DNC replace your candidate. Everybody was like, go Biden, go Biden, go Biden. Oh, go Kamala, go Kamala. I don't know. I just didn't like the way that took place. So here we have it. All right, the next topic that always comes up is When is Trump a racist? Okay, we're going to talk about that, and let's see what the Breakfast Club has to say. We'll see.
A lot of people feel that Trump is racist. And what do you say to that? You know, in 73, of course, it was when he got sued for not renting to African Americans. And 89, when he took out the ad in the paper. And I mean, even saying Obama wasn't born here and show his birth certificate. And there's numerous things. So what do you say to that?
Well, I think that's ridiculous. I've known this man for 16 years. And, you know, you can go to each of those incidents and, you know, there was never any proof of anything with the houses that you're talking about.
He settled out for that, though,
Yeah,
right?
they settled that. And there was no admission of anything there. You know, Central Park 5, there were so many people. You had a Democrat, DA who prosecuted the guys, and they admitted to it. There were a lot of people in New York
They were
at that time.
exonerated and freed, and there was never an apology, never sorry, never
However,
a my
I will
bad.
say that you have to look at somebody and what they actually have done. And Donald Trump really was very beneficial to the Black community when he was in the White House. I will say I've never seen this man say a racist thing. I think the attacks are fairly. Why is that funny, Charlamagne?
I'm just like, it's hysterical. But I mean,
But no, Charlamagne,
because people act like
listen.
there's no such thing as Google, or we don't have TV, we don't
Well,
have
what is
radio.
it
So I want you to watch the clips that the Breakfast Club is going to show that calls Donald Trump racist, and even Central Park 5 and the fair housing, the rental, lawsuits and things like that doesn't show that the person is racist. It just shows that they may have bad business practices. But I'll continue.
that you think that he said?
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
This morning, a bitter backlash after President Trump referred to Haiti and African nations as S-hole countries during a meeting on immigration Thursday.
This remark by the President of the United States smacks of blatant racism.
Here's what I'll say. This is a man who, as I said in the beginning, was beloved by so many people in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And he was friends with everybody.
A lot of celebrities.
Jesse Jackson, by the way.
Please
his Rainbow
don't do that.
Coalition.
He had black friends. That's not going to work.
No.
Please don't do the he had black friends. That's not going to work here. Is that what she said or was going to say? She was going to say that Donald Trump was a supporter of Jesse Jackson, not only when he ran for president, but he also let his campaign people stay at his hotels, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't sound like much racism. He actually was backing the Rainbow Coalition at the time and Jesse Jackson's run for president.
He let them stay rent-free in one of his buildings, the Rainbow Coalition, because he felt like at the time that was a very important thing. You can go pick apart somebody all you want. It is a traditional talking point to attack Republicans, to call them racist. But when you look at the things that he wants for this country, he wants every person to be successful. He wants Black Americans to be successful, Hispanic Americans to be successful, women to be successful. And he worked that way when he was in the White House. And whether you want to talk about actually funding in perpetuity historically Black colleges and universities, whether you want to talk about the First Step Act that allowed 30,000 nonviolent felons to be released from prison, who the 1994 crime bill actually put in prison, these are things that really have, I feel like, spoken to a lot of people. But more so than anything, the economy right now is such that I don't care who you are. It is hurting you, and it is something that he wants to fix. He wants every American to have their shot at the American dream. And, I hate that is the constant knee-jerk is Donald Trump is a racist, Donald Trump is a racist. I can tell you he wants every person to be successful. He'll work for every American equally. He did that the first term when he was president, and he'll do it again.
So I said this on another episode that anytime that they say Donald Trump is a racist, they always point to the renting of properties, the lawsuits, which was settled. And they also mention Central Park 5. And then lately they go by the first, when he ran for president, he talked about shithole countries. And he also talked about the Mexicans and the border. None of that really says a person is racist. Like I said, they may have bad judgment in language. It may be rhetoric, but racist has to hurt people and affect people, and none of those things did that. So it just didn't happen. And I always find that when people point out all of the things that he did for the Black community and for Black people, that list is a lot longer than those few things where people claim he's a racist. So, of course, the next issue was women's rights.
Father-in-law.
Excuse me, women's rights and Roe v. Wade. We're going to talk about that as well. And I wanted to pull myself back up because it seems to me that abortion, and Lara Trump is going to talk about this, but when and how did abortion get so high on the Democrats list for a talking point? It's abortion is a lane that I personally don't go down. I like to stay out of women's business. And I think Donald Trump would prefer to stay out of women's business as well. He does not want that to be on the president's table. He does not want that to be a federal issue. Hey, leave it up to the states. I don't want anything to do with that. And this is why he wanted the Supreme Court to overturn it, because he's like, I don't think this should be a federal issue. So let's overturn it, put it back in the hands of the state, and let them decide what to do about abortions, and basically wipe his hands of it. And I kind of agree with that. So let's see. And then Charlemagne started by saying women's rights, and she's like, what women's rights? And then he goes right into Roe v. Wade and abortion, and the rest of this clip goes to talk about abortions.
For sure.
And I understand why you support, your father-in-law. That's your father-in-law. You're the co-chair of the RNC. But his policies.
That was kind of condescending to say, oh, it's not, you don't believe in any of this. You're just supporting this because you're his daughter-in-law. I thought that was kind of like, that was a dig. And just, I thought that was poor. Just poor. But then basically what he's saying is you wouldn't even be sitting here if you weren't qualified. I mean, if you weren't his daughter-in-law. You're not really qualified to talk about this, but
especially towards women. They absolutely take away rights from women. What do you think about that?
How's that?
What do you mean?
Which rights?
The Roe v. Wade being overturned, women's reproductive rights.
Because for 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Like, what are we talking
So
about?
here's the thing that's been very interesting to me about this entire election. It's obviously abortion has become really the number one issue of the Democrats, I think. And
number one, which is crazy. Like, we have so many issues on the table, especially the economy, especially inflation, and this abortion issue, it keeps coming to the table. And it has so much to do with identity politics, whether it's, women's rights, LGBTQ, women. And then why do we keep tying women to abortion? There's so many other ways to uplift women. And if you're going to say that, I don't know, women are being oppressed, why do we keep going to abortion? It's just weird to me.
I think it's because they know that a lot of what they've done to this country, people are smart enough to see. Like, it's been bad. People are hurting, like we said earlier. We've already established that. You got wars, you got an open border, you got people with less money in their pocket, can't make ends meet. So what do? You say, all right, we got to go hard on abortion. What happened when the Supreme Court said we're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade is that the most democratic of things happened, which is that this went back to the states so that we, the people, actually have the opportunity in our respective states to vote on it. Donald Trump has said he will not sign a federal abortion ban. This should be out of the hands of the federal government. And actually, it's a great thing so that here in New York, there might be a vote that is very different than what they might have in Alabama or California or Nevada. It's all up to us, we the people in our respective states. And so I think the talking point that Donald Trump is somehow threatening this is outrageous. He said, I want nothing to do with it.
But he takes credit for it. He said, I put the 3 Supreme Court judges on the stand that actually overturned Roe v. Wade.
And you know what? In some places, Charlemagne, it actually means that things are going to be more liberal, and they're gonna have a lot longer opportunity for people to have abortions. Some places it might be less, but you know what? That is up to the people of the states. And Donald Trump, I think, has been very clear that it should never have been in the hands of the federal government. It should have never been in the hands of the United States Supreme Court to decide. It should be up to the people.
Well,
So basically, how is following the Constitution, how is putting, decisions like that into the hands of the states oppressing women or violating women's rights? All he's saying is, I'm moving the responsibility. So by overturning Roe v. Wade, basically is saying we no longer want this to be a federal issue, and we're going to get the Supreme Court to vote for that. But women, if your state says that it's fine, then your rights haven't been oppressed at all. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But it is a topic that I don't take a side on. I'm not a woman. I can't have an abortion. So however way they do it, you have to figure out if you can go to another state to do it. I don't know. It's just something that the federal government, Donald Trump, believes that they should take their hands out of. And last topic we're going to talk about on the Breakfast Club was jailing journalists. Now, this was kind of funny. Donald Trump has always said the media is the enemy of the people, and he's basically been a victim of the media for so long, so many times. And he's basically come out and go, I'm kind of tired of it. Charlamagne the God is like, not going to get my vote because Charlamagne is media. Here we go.
We're working hard for your vote, Charlemagne.
You're not getting it. I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
I don't know. How much longer do we have? How much longer do we have?
Like, Trump wants to jail journalists. I'm a radio personality.
We wouldn't even have
wants to
jobs, would
jail
we?
That's what they said, that he
Will
wants
we
to
have
break up
jobs?
media monopolies.
No. Forget the media monopolies. He said out of his mouth. He said it numerous times. He was sitting with Ben Shapiro the other day, and he was like, watch what I do. I think it was with the New York Times. He said, watch what I do to them. He said he wants to take CBS News license. He literally said he wants to jail journalists who oppose him.
And you believe that? Did he jail journalists whenever he was in the White House?
So why are you
before?
saying? My thing is this: why say things that he doesn't believe if he doesn't want us to believe him?
Well, I would have to actually hear him say that.
Take the writer and or the publisher of the paper, and you say, who is the leaker? And they say, we're not going to tell you. They say, it's okay, you're going to jail.
You may have heard of something called sarcasm, and Donald Trump operates in that quite a bit. And sometimes the things that he says, I think, get misconstrued. He's being sarcastic about things and joking about a lot of things, and then people say, "Wait a minute, he says this, that, and the other." But
he's running for president.
But
I gotta believe the
and
words
by
that
the
come
way,
out of your
Donald
mouth.
Trump is he hates the term politician. He still does not want to consider himself a politician.
It's kind of funny. He said he's running for president. I want to be able to believe the things that are coming out of his mouth. He needs to keep that same energy when he supports his candidate as well. That's for another story, another episode that I'm going to do about believing the things that comes out of her mouth. Anyway, those are the points that I wanted to talk about in this short episode. But more than that, in the clip, Donald Trump said, if a journalist or if a newspaper or if a news media channel makes a claim about you, okay, and it's a false claim, and it basically puts you in jeopardy, and I say, who's the leaker? Because whoever the leaker is, they're going to go to jail, or I'm going to arrest them, or I'm going to sue them for making false claims. And that media outlet, whether it's journal, newspaper, magazine, TV, says, no, I can't give up my sources. Well, then I'm arresting you or I'm suing you. Now, this could never happen. We can't be jailing journalists. I mean, freedom of the press. They have a constitutional support system that's not going to make you arrest them. But what he's saying is someone needs to be held accountable. When the media ruins my life, when the media puts something out there, I prove that it's false. And then I go, now who's the leaker? Because someone's going to pay. We can't give up our sources. That's all he's saying. That's what he's saying in that point. All right. Anyway, kudos to Lara Trump for going on the Breakfast Club and standing her ground. And that's what we need more of. We need candidates, both left and right, to go on their opposition shows and be drilled. And that's what we see taking place here. Other than that, guys, listen, it's been great. I got another big episode coming up. You're not going to want to miss this. I am going to take a closer look at Candace Owens' investigation on Kamala Harris. And we're going to talk about it because I don't think it's getting enough attention. It's not getting enough recognition. It's powerful. It's deep. It's not surface level. And on the next episode of the Be Wise podcast, we're going to talk about that. Other than that, you guys take care. I will see you later. Peace.